How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, and welcome into Start or Sit Running Backs Week 11. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, go check out our YouTube page. It's already live over there. Before we get into it, guys, obviously this is 14 Personnel Fantasy. I am your host, Justin Wright. But some exciting news, if you haven't seen it on the last couple of videos, we are running a jersey giveaway for you guys. So let's throw it up here. We got two jerseys here, DeAndre Swift and Lamar Jackson, both signed. As you can see, these are the two jerseys specifically. To enter, it's pretty simple. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hopefully you already are. If not, go ahead and subscribe below and then send a screenshot of that, to @14p_fantasy over on Twitter to enter. That's all you got to do. You don't got to follow the account if you don't want to. It's, again, your call, guys. All you got to do is subscribe, send us a screenshot, let us know you are watching. And winners, we'll announce them on the 29th, that Monday. It's either going to be a YouTube video or a tweet coming out. So keep an eye out for that if you are entered. All right, let's get into it. We got 6 more names this week. We're talking starts, sits, flexes, whatever else we might encounter, obviously, in week 11. So first name on our list, we have Devonta Freeman versus the Chicago Bears. And if you saw the news, Le'Veon Bell was released. Now, that probably means Latavius Murray's coming back. There hasn't been a whole lot of news, obviously, about that yet. It's only Wednesday. But Devonta Freeman is setting up nicely to have a fairly large workload yet again. Last week against Miami, he was the lead running back. There's no denying that, but things got away from the Ravens. It was a weird game script. It was just a weird game altogether. That first drive, it looked like Devonta Freeman was about to, run for 100+ yards and just have an all-around incredible day. Obviously, 30 yards on the first drive and finished with like 5 additional on the ground, caught a couple passes, ended up being, a dud week for him. But he's still the lead guy there as far as I'm concerned. Even with Murray coming back, he's probably not 100% healthy. So Devonta Freeman most likely sees another 3 to 4 targets like he's been seeing, probably gets some red zone work. And the Bears, again, as a Bears fan, I know we're just not very good. We show up random weeks. I don't think this is one of those weeks. It feels like a bounce back game for the Ravens, which means Devonta Freeman is absolutely a back end RB2 at worst, and a flex play if you're deep at running back. All right, number 2, we got Josh Jacobs versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Jacobs coming off of a down game, obviously, last week. But this season, he has been fairly consistent. Granted, that consistency is mediocre with the ceiling. One game over 15 points, hasn't broken 20 yet. He's been up and down. Cincinnati feels like a spot where he could really have a monster day. Even with Kenyon Drake being utilized and outscoring him 3 of the last 4 weeks, Jacobs is set up to have a great game against Cincinnati. Over the last month, Cincinnati's been the second easiest matchup for running backs. They've allowed 5 touchdowns, 4 on the ground, 1 in the air. So the production, the ceiling is there for Josh Jacobs. This very well could be his first 20-point week. I'm not going to go that far and say it's locked in, but I do think, even off of a down week, throw Josh Jacobs back into your lineups. Again, I know he hasn't been necessarily fun. He hasn't been a good draft pick, but the floor has been extremely high. He's been an RB2 the majority of the time he's been active. So again, fire up Josh Jacobs against the Bengals this week. And number 3, this is maybe obvious to some people. Obviously, if you're newer to fantasy, you're still, figuring out how to value replacement running backs. A.J. Dillon is probably as high as they come. He's an RB1 this week. If you have A.J. Dillon and he's been sitting on your bench, you have to start him, whether it's as your RB1, your RB2, or in your flex spot. He needs to be in your lineups. Again, we have seen, very short career, but we have seen 2 games now where Aaron Jones has left early. Last year against Tennessee, obviously the snow game, A.J. Dillon went for 25 points, looked like, Derrick Henry out there, honestly. Looked like a superstar in the making. Again, happens last week. Again, scores 2 touchdowns, has an incredible game, over 25 points yet again. Am I going to pencil him in for guaranteed locked and loaded 25 points? No, that's insane. He's not CMC, but he's an RB1. Again, if you have him, you have to start him. Minnesota is very middle of the road. Yeah, they're probably going to get Harrison Smith, Patrick Peterson back, some guys on the back end, which means maybe the Packers opt to run a little bit more. He's going to get the volume. He's going to get the work. It's just, if he finds the end zone, he's a locked and loaded RB1. You got to play him this week. All right, to another guy here that is probably trending the opposite direction. It's Ty Johnson versus the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, in part one, we got Michael Carter pegged as an RB2, but Ty Johnson without Mike White is significantly less interesting. Mike White had the highest check down rate in the NFL to running backs. By a wide margin. Obviously, he is not starting it as now Joe Flacco. So, is he going to see 6 to 8 targets like he was seeing with Mike White? And the answer is most likely no. I don't want to bank on that on a guy that doesn't check down, at a historic rate. So let's say Ty Johnson gets, 3 to 4 carries and then 4 to 5 targets. That's not enough for me to consider him as a flex option or throw him in as my RB2 in like a desperation play. With a game that should be competitive, just two bad teams kind of slugging it out, I don't expect a ton of soft coverage, garbage time where Ty Johnson has thrived the last couple of weeks here. You got to sit him down. He's been fun. Don't play him this week. Moving on, speaking of running backs that have been very fun, Rhamondre Stevenson last week obviously explodes onto the scene with Damian Harris out with a concussion. It looks like Harris should be back for Thursday night. Again, I'm recording this Wednesday, so if I'm wrong, Rhamondre Stevenson is an RB2, maybe even an RB1. You have to start him. If Harris is active, Stevenson probably still has some standalone value. He's a flex play. I think I'd rather play between him and, Devonta Freeman, another flex option. I'll take Devonta Freeman just because while Stevenson has been great, we don't know if Bill Belichick is going to go back to Damian Harris when he's fully healthy or if this just ends up being a super gross split and both guys are, hit and miss RB2s. So Stevenson looks to have established some kind of role. He did look better, the week prior when him and Harris were both active. So I do think he, again, has a role in this offense. Do I think it's similar to last week? Probably not, which is why he, again, falls into kind of a desperation flex play here, and you hope he finds the end zone, and if he does, he pays off. Otherwise, I don't know how happy you'll be with Rhamondre Stevenson in your flex during week 11. And to close us out, we have Zack Moss versus the Indianapolis Colts, and he comes in as a sit. Him and Singletary both. Put them both in this category. When they're both active, they're both kind of useless. Zack Moss is a touchdown-dependent RB2, RB3. That's really all he is. Again, he's probably not going to see more than 15 touches. He's most likely in the 10 to 12 range. He has one game over 15 on the season. He's broken 10 points once in the last 5 weeks here, 4 games. It's just, you need a touchdown, and he's basically Jordan Howard. Like, that's a nice way to put it. It's just two guys that need to fall into the end zone to be relevant. And I don't know if they get there this week. So they're both sits. If you go back to part 1 of our RB video, Howard is a sit for the exact same reason. These touchdown-dependent bruisers aren't the guys I'm looking to play, especially in PPR. Like, Standard's a different story, but PPR, you got to sit them down. All right, everybody. That is all we have for you. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel to enter in for that Swift and Lamar Jackson jersey giveaway. Winners announced on the 29th. All right, everybody. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.